Good morning. So you remember in the tutorial video, we started out with a block like this, and then we cut it down and we made some blocks like this, and we made some blocks like this, and we made some blocks like this. Well, today I'm going to just continue on with that process, so you can hang out and sew with me if you'd like. If you want to work on something that you're working on, that'd be great. Or if you want to follow along and do this, we'll just continue on with these blocks. Eventually I will have enough for a quilt. So yeah, this one needs to get pressed open. Okay, so I've got my iron heating up here, and I'm just going to give this a little press. So not too much has been going on here. It's been cold weather, rainy weather. Got a little bit of snow the other day up on the mountainside, and that was good. We need that water, and we certainly love Idaho. The weather changes here like every 2 or 3 minutes, it seems like. So that's the other half of the one that we did last time. And this one I'll just press in one direction. Okay. These are such fun blocks to make, and I was thinking about this after I did the video last time. If you want to do all your blocks kind of mix and match like this, or you want to add in some of the border blocks like this, what you could do is when you start out, instead of starting out with a 5-inch patch, a 5-inch square of fabric, you could start out with a 4.5-inch square, and that will give you the same dimensions of all the other blocks that we created from that one patch. But only for this. If you're going to create one of these other patches, you're going to want to start out with the 5-inch, because when you cut it down, you're going to take that seam allowance is going to eat that up. Okay, so you're going to want to start out with a 4.5 for this one if this is the only block you want to make from this. If you want to take this block and make a transitional block like we did, then you're going to want to start out with a 5-inch patch. Okay, I hope that's clear. And we'll do some more of those in a bit. So it's almost getting time to put the garden in, and I'm getting excited about that. There we go. That looks good. I think what I'm going to do with this is I think I'm going to put these two together and do that like that. Let's see. I want that to go like that. There's a way to audition your block when you're sewing these blocks so that you can see what it is that you're going to create. And you remember we did 2 lights, 2 darks in different fabrics, so we have some that we can mix and match. Now when I make this block into this block, I don't want my greens right next to each other, and I don't want my pinks on top of each other, so I'm going to do this like this. I'm going to look and see and say, okay, the pink is on this side and the green is on that side, and I've got the green on this side and the lighter on that side. Okay, so I know that's the way I need to press that, because what I want to do is I want to nest my seams. So I'm just going to give this a little light press here. My seams are going in opposite directions the way that I press them, so I will be able to nest this just fine. And you remember, we are going to want to line these corners up. So find your corner, and I will take a marker. Let me grab one here for you. And I still haven't unpacked from Monday Fun Day yet. Okay, so this is where our seam intersects right here. I don't know if you can see that, hopefully. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pin right in this corner, just like that. Okay, and that's going to come right through, and I'm going to go and match it up with this corner over here. Okay, that's good. I'm going to keep that pin perpendicular. Those seams are nested, and I'm going to tuck another pin right next to it, not in the seam, but next to it. Okay, well, that pin is still perpendicular, and that'll hold that in place. Now I can go to the other side. I'll do the same thing. I'm going to go up to where the seam intersects, and I'm going to go just inside there. And I'm going to match it up over here with this one. Okay, this seems a bit fiddly, I know, but it works really well to get a nice precise block. Again, we're going to pin take a little pin and tuck on the side of that seam where it's lined up. I'm going to tuck right here. Okay, now I've got those two lined up. Now I want to line up these because I'm going to make a mark that goes down the seam, down the center of this diagonally, and we're going to create a seam on either side of that. And that will give us our 4-patch block that we want, our hourglass block. Okay, here we go. Put a little pin right there. Line it up with the corner of that one. You see, we're just lining up right there. Okay, there we go. It's all lined up. Keep your pin perpendicular and just tuck a pin next to it. Okay, there we go. We got everything lined up and we know we're good. Okay, now I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to bisect this, going diagonally point to point, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going through this point here and this point here on the inside block. Okay, hopefully you can see that. And then we're going to stitch down a 1/4 inch on either side of that seam right there. Okay, I think I'll go on this side first. Oh, don't be growly. We have an older cat and a younger cat, and the older cat doesn't like the younger one because she chases her, but she runs from her, so it kind of creates that need in the little kitty to chase, you know. It gets that instinct going. So there's a new quilt museum opening up, or has opened up, in Lava Hot Springs in Idaho, and they are having a show called Quilt Splash, and it's all about color. And that show is going to be starting, I believe, May 26th, and I have 2 quilts that'll be in that. One quilt is my X and Plus block quilt, which I love. I'm going to make another one of those this year. They are so great for using up scraps. Okay, now we can take these pins out. We don't need them anymore. And we're going to cut down the middle of this. And I'll grab my rotary cutter. Again, I have not unpacked. Can you believe it? Holy mackerel. Okay. Anyway, they're opening up, I believe, May 26th. You'll have to check. And the other quilt I have going in that show is the Chilhowie that I made, which is a Bonnie Hunter Mistred quilt. And so I'm excited about that. There you go. We have perfect points, beautiful little 4 patches, hourglass. You could use these blocks in a number of ways. Okay, so those are the, oh, I should show you how to spin the seams. I was going to press all these later and just kind of do some chain stitching, but there's a little seam in the middle of this where we put it together, and you're going to pull that seam apart. This is how you spin your seams. You might have to take a clip at the stitches right there, but don't clip through. You're going to finger press this a little bit on each side, and then take it to your ironing. You're going to iron it just that way. So you should have a 4 patch right in the middle there. Okay. And I'll press it from the back side first. Just give it a nice little press. And then we turn it over and give it another press. There we go. You see how beautifully that lines up in the middle, on the edges, just gorgeous, okay? So I'll press those later. I'm going to go through some of the blocks that we cut up last week and finish those up. This block and this block will make one. So what we started out with, maybe I'll do this way to show you again. We started out with this and this, okay? And I'm going to do this like this and stitch that together. So we're going to line up these seams on the edges. And we're going to tuck a pin next to it, not in the seam, but next to it. And the same on this side. We're going to line it up on, you'll be able to see from the edge that it lines up, and then you can always fold back your seam a little bit and check it, okay? And then we're just going to tuck a pin right there. And then we'll sew this down. I have not finished my luminary quilt on the long arm yet because I'm waiting for a part to come from Handy Quilter. I want to replace a wheel that's on my long arm, and so that affects the X and Y axis on the long arm. So that's a little bit fiddly, I'm sure, information wise, but that's what's going on with that. So that should get here today, and then I'll just replace that, and then I'll finish whipping that quilt out. And I've got some other things that will go on the long arm as well. I finished up that pivot quilt. That was fun. That was the curved piecing. And I'm going to be starting another quilt for my daughter-in-law and son. That is called Tsunami, and it's a large quilt. It's going to be a king-size quilt, and so I have the fabric pulled for that, which I'll share with you here in a minute. And that I'm going to let's see here, let me see if I can grab it. Yeah, it's going to be these fabrics. And these are Hoffman fabrics. And I've got some of this that's going to mix in with it, and some of this that's going to mix in with it. So those are all going to be very beautiful. And let me grab one more. Oh, I can barely reach it. Okay, and this one. And this is the quilt. It's called Tsunami, and it is a Giant Storm at Sea quilt by Dion Stott. And we just had a great little instructional time with Dion. She came to our quilt guild up in Rigby, Idaho, and she taught us different methods and of finishing your quilt with binding. She has a beautiful book on binding, which I have. I'll get it out later, but anyway, this is one of her patterns, and so I'm excited to try this, and I think it's going to be a quick and easy quilt. It looks very simple. I've made that particular, not that particular pattern, but a smaller version of it before, and I do love it. So, okay, now we've got our halves made. And again, we're going to press these in opposite directions. So I need to figure out where I want things. So I want my little green on this side. I want it on this side. Okay. So I'm going to press this one going in this direction. Okay. Let's move our roller. This is a tight space here for producing a video, but we're making it work. Okay, we've got that one. And then we're going to press this one. Okay. Now again, you can audition by simply folding back your piece and seeing, is that the way I want my 4-patch to look in the center. Do my sides all mix and match okay? And if they do, that's great. First thing we're going to do is, again, we've got an intersection here of our stitching, okay? There's an intersection right there of the stitching, and we're going to put our pin right in that corner, okay? And this is an air erase pen that I use by Soline. I like it. There's lots of different things out there that you can use, and we're going to match that up with the other seam. I can feel them nesting, and I'm just going to tuck a pin right next to that. I don't need it on both sides this time. Okay, I got a little fiddle there. That's okay, it'll be fine. Sometimes that just happens, even with an experienced quilter. Sometimes you get a little fold back. Usually what I'll do is I'll pick that out and I'll stitch it back down, and that's just because I'm kind of a little OCD about that stuff, but here we go. Okay, we've got those two sides put together. I can feel where it's nesting in the center there, and I'm just going to tuck a pin crossways just to keep it lined up for right now. Okay, we'll get this kind of squared up here a little bit. There we go. Now we'll take our ruler, and I'm going to measure in halfway. So I'm going to go 2.5 inches from the side of the pieces that are inside the block there, because I know that this is a 5-inch square, and it's 5 inches across this way. I'll show you. So it's 5 inches, which is what we started out with. Now it won't be 5 inches this way because we've already taken the seam allowance of the 1/2 inch. So this is what we want to do. Go 2.5, and I'm going to lightly draw a line down here. There we go. I'm going to stitch on both sides of that, and I will have 2 perfect 4 patches. Okay, here we go. And again, we're just using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we know that this center is just going to butt right up next to each other because they're ironed in opposite directions. And same on this side. There we go. And then we'll just take these pins out, and we can see that that lined up beautifully. Okay, good. So I'm going to trim that apart, and I will press it later. Okay, there we go. Now we'll do this one. This is a little 4-patch, and we're going to put this in the middle and line it up. Tuck a pin in the side. We're going to line this piece up here. Tuck a pin in the side, and we'll line this one up. And we'll tuck a pin in the side. And then we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch down. And I like to take my pins out. I know some machine manufacturers tell you that you can stitch over your pins. I don't think that's a good idea. Okay. There we go. And we've got that all stitched up. Now, again, this is just like a 4-patch. So you're gonna spin your seams. Whoops! Come on, little thing. I'll close my rotary cutter. You spin your seams, so you pull that open in opposite directions, and that's how you're going to press that. Okay. there you go. I have a cute little 4-patch all done. Okay. Now, let's see. Yesterday I was working on this, day before yesterday, I'm sorry, it's Wednesday, I forget. I was working on this baby quilt that I'm going to be making for our neighbor. We don't know if they're having a boy or a girl, so I did a pink one, a bow tie quilt, which you can go back and look in the videos and see that. And I had this one cut out from years ago. I've made this several times, and so I had the pieces already cut out, and you can see them, they're cute with the little footprints. So this will be the center of the baby quilt, and then I have some borders that will go around it, which I'll show you. So one border is going to be white, just to kind of encase everything. And then I had some shirting fabric. This is just from shirts, old men's shirts, and that beautiful stripe. So I'll stitch all those together, and those will go around the outside edge. It makes a beautiful finish. And then I'll have this for binding, and that way I'll be ready. If they have a boy, I'll have a boy quilt, and if they have a girl, I'll have a girl quilt. It'll be fun. So, and this one will have, when I quilt it, I'm just going to do some very basic straight stitching on the diagonal for it, so it doesn't look too girly and fussy. So that's kind of that. And I keep my projects in these project boxes. I really like these. You can get them all kinds of places. Amazon has them, and I should pull my ruler out so I don't lose my rulers. I have a bad habit of leaving them in my box on Mondays, and then I'll wonder where they are when I need them. And I have inside here also, oh, there's another ruler. I have inside here also another little project that I'm going to start on. This is one that I picked up when I was with my friend Deanne. We went down to a retreat. Anyway, she had these darling, we went shop hopping at all the shops, and this one was on Quilt Etc. on East Main Street in Sandy, Utah. And so I picked up, they had a little fabric packet to make this little tiny, it's 4.5 inches by 13.5 inches, and I thought that would be fun to do a little hanging. So I'm going to be working on that too. And you've seen these. I make these little pads that you can use, little design boards that you can take with you, and they're great for carrying stuff around and transferring it to an iron if you need to. So that's another project for another day. I'll flip this over this way, I think. Okay, so now I'm going to put some of these together, and I think I like these two. We'll go, and I think I'll do them this way. And bring my little pin holder over. You can go to the Harbor Freight, and you can get these little trays, and they're cheap. They're only under a couple bucks, and they're magnetic for holding tools and things, and you can put all kinds of stuff in them. And then also these sew tights are great if you have difficulty keeping a 1/4 inch seam allowance on your machine when you're stitching. You can put this right up next to your 1/4 inch foot, and it'll help you line your fabric up. So that's just a little trick. I use that sometimes just because, you know, nobody sews a perfect 1/4 inch. Geez, we're all wiggly. And so that just is a helping tool for you. And I keep those. I keep one in my bag to go, and I keep several here in my studio. I use them also on my long arm. You can use them to hold fabric down. If you don't want to buy sew tights, you can get, they're called name badge tags. You can get them at Home Depot and Lowe's, and they're very inexpensive. I think, I want to say it's like maybe under $10 for like 60 of them. So if you want to go in with a group, maybe of a guild or something, and you all want to have some, that'd be a good little stocking stuffer too. Okay, so I'm gonna, I think what I'm going to do is cut these in half first. They're easier to match up that way for what I'm doing. Okay, so we ironed this differently. Let's go 2.5 inches from that side. Okay. And then we'll do 2.5 inches from this side. And then I can sew those two together. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is match these bits up right here. I'm digging for a pin and they're over here now. Isn't it funny how you set your sewing room up and you have such a habit of how you do things, and I'm going to do this one a little different because these are pressed a little differently, and that's okay. Good. There we go. Okay. So my garlic's coming up like crazy. My rhubarb's coming up like crazy. I'm going to have to start picking some rhubarb here and get it put together and either freeze it or dehydrate it, one of the two. It was so nice yesterday. It was storming out and I wanted to sew all day, and so I came down to the basement here and I sewed, and then my husband was hungry and I said, oh, okay. And I walked into our we have a little pantry off the basement here. It's like a cold storage room. It stays really nice and cold in there all year long. And I had put up some sausage soup in jars. And so I grabbed a jar of sausage soup, and I had some homemade bread, and so I toasted that and slathered it with some garlic butter, and we had that and sausage soup for lunch yesterday, which was delicious. We try to eat just twice a day. We eat like a late breakfast and then kind of an early dinner, and that suffices, for us. Okay, this looks a little wrinkly. I should give it a little press. Okay, now, what do I want to do for this one? Let's do, that's kind of fun. Okay, so I'm going to go from the back side because I can see the edge of my 5-inch strip. I'm going to line that up and cut straight across. Okay. And same with this one. You can see my 5-inch strip. Line it up. We're going 2.5 inches. Remember, 2.5 inches from this edge. And you'll notice again, I have the tape on my ruler. This tape is by Omni and it comes in a 3-pack. I love this tape. If you don't have it, it's inexpensive. It's a great tool for you. It will help you if you are like me, and sometimes I have a cataract in one eye that's not ready to be removed yet, and so sometimes sighting down on something can be a little difficult for me. So I use that as a tool to help me see exactly where I need to have my fabric so that I get a precise cut. Okay, we're going to line those two edges up. We're going to run these through again, 1/4 inch. I'm just making halves right now, and out of the half, I can make this, and so I will have plenty of those, and then I can also do some on the diagonal, which I will do for you, and those will make the other block that we want to make. The hourglass block. Okay, so isn't that cute? That would be a cute block in a quilt also. There's so many things you can do with this. You just have fun and experiment with it. And if you don't have a jelly roll, don't freak out. You just get your strips out, get some fat quarters out, go through your yardage, see what you want to get rid of, and you can just make something beautiful really quickly with just a little bit of effort. And cut yourself some 2.5-inch strips, just like I did here. I've got plenty. And cut yourself some 5-inch blocks, just like this. And you will be all set and ready to make things with it. And if you chain piece like this, you can get a lot done in a short period of time. We'll see. So yeah, the rhubarb. I'm gonna have to do something with the rhubarb. Let's see now, what do we think about this? It's a dark center, I don't want that. Let's do this one maybe. That'll be enough contrast. Okay. Again, we're flipping over and we're cutting. So if you're working on a quilt right now, share in the comments and let me know what you're working on. Or if you are new to quilting or an experienced quilter, what kind of things would you like to see tutorials on? I'd be happy to work to put those together for you. And if you like this kind of activity, if you would just give us a like and subscribe, that would be most helpful. And comments are very much appreciated, even if they're critique. I appreciate all of it. And just know this about quilting. There's many, many ways to arrive at the same outcome. So if this technique doesn't work for you, don't worry. There's other techniques that can be used to get to the same spot. You don't have to take the same road to get to the same city. It's all good. Sewing should be fun. Quilting should be fun. It should be a creative outlet for you so that you can experiment with color and texture and design. And sometimes I like a complex quilt. Sometimes it's fun just to make something that doesn't take a lot of thought. You know, when you can, if you can do a block like this, you can do a whole quilt. And I have done whole quilts out of just this block, just like this. And they're beautiful. They're simple. They're beautiful in their simplicity. Let's just say that. And they go together quickly. You can get a great effect. You could fussy cut your charm squares and have something really delightful for like a child to kind of do a story time quilt with them. So lots of options there, lots of design options, and you're not restricted. You don't have to. Sometimes a really complex quilt is a lot of fun, and you kind of go through it like, I love Bonnie Hunter. She does beautifully pieced quilts, and her directions are great usually, and you have a nice sense of satisfaction when you're done, like you really accomplished something. And what she does is she uses basic foundational piecing, basic like a 4-patch or a half square triangle, you know, those kind of things to put together her quilts. And you know, they're beautiful. They lend themselves to all kinds of color and design options, and that's just wonderful. That's what you want. That's 2 greens. I don't want 2 greens. Let's do this. And we got it on the outside and the inside. Okay. So again, we're going to flip this over. We're going to measure from that side and go right across there. And we'll take this one and we'll do the same thing. Actually, you know what? Those are a little too samey. I think maybe let's keep looking. This one will work. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that gives us a little bit of color interest there. I hear my husband upstairs talking to somebody on the phone. he is profoundly deaf, and so when he gets on the phone with somebody, he is always talking loud. So I can usually hear him all over the house. He went for a nice walk this morning, so that's always good. Like I said, it's been raining pretty nonstop for about a week now, and so he hasn't really been able to get out and go for his walks during the day. He likes to walk about 10 miles a day, and he has not been able to get out and do that, so there we go. I hear him laughing up there. So I made 2 loaves of bread the other day. I made one in the Pullman loaf pan, and the other one there was a large Pullman loaf, the 13-inch, and then the other one I made was in the smaller Pullman loaf pan. And I was very disappointed in both recipes. They were both new that I tried. I probably should have used one that I knew was a effective recipe, and then the other one I could experiment with. But I experimented with both of them because, you know, why not? So I didn't like either one of them. The one was a Martha Stewart Pullman loaf recipe, and that was very disappointing. And that's the second recipe out of her books that I have been disappointed with. So I'm not gonna, excuse me, use her recipe. I like these two together. Her recipe again. The other one was out of her bread recipe book, and it was for English muffin loaf, which I thought sounded kind of interesting. I like English muffins. Well, it came out beautiful. It looks beautiful, but it doesn't taste anything like an English muffin to me. So, yeah. And the Martha Stewart one was way too salty. So, it's funny. One year, my husband and I were struggling a little bit, and it was his birthday, so I said, I'll make you a birthday cake. And so I got out the recipe book, and I thought, what have I got to make a cake out of? And so I made this cake, and it called for a cup of cornstarch, and I thought, that is a weird that's a weird amount of cornstarch to put in a cake recipe. But I put it in. Martha Stewart, same book. I should 86 that thing. And that cake came out of the oven so hard you could have bricked a house with it. It was awful. So we did not make that recipe again. And it's funny because John says, oh, you know, my wife she's such a good cook, and we always have something wonderful, except she can't do birthday cakes. Well, last week we had friends over, and I was making a birthday cake for him, and he wanted a yellow cake with chocolate frosting. I thought, oh, it's so easy. I'll just do a cake mix cake, and I thought, oh, I'll do it in the bundt pan, and I'll make it easy. I don't have to frost layers. I was being lazy. Anyway, that bundt cake was delicious, but it did not come out of the pan right. You know, bundt cakes, sometimes they just don't come out right, even though you grease that pan up to beat the band. So I took it and I put it in the freezer, and I froze it up, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna make a trifle. So I sent John down to the market, and I said, go get me a big tub of Cool Whip, please. And I had some vanilla pudding, so I made a vanilla pudding up. And then after that, I Let's use this one. I like this one together. Now this one we're going to do on the diagonal. I'm going to start doing diagonals. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my line first, and then I'll pin it. So he went down and got that, and what I did was I mixed up the pudding, and then I lightened the pudding with some of the Cool Whip, and I layered the frozen cake in with the Cool Whip, and the pudding Cool Whip mixture. And then let's get that right in the corner there. Right, the corner there. And then I had a leftover chocolate bunny from Easter. So I took that and I grated that up, and I put Cool Whip on the top and grated the chocolate curls on top of the trifle, and it was delicious. Everybody was raving about it. And then we had to laugh and tell them the story about my horrible birthday cake experiences. And it's funny, my son lives in Palm Springs, and I like to send them, he and his partner, what I call a deconstructed birthday cake for their birthdays. I send them a box cake mix, frosting mix, and I'll put some cute candles in there, and I'll put in some sprinkles that look cool for the particular birthday, and a card, of course. And then I always send them some of my home canned goodies, because my son loves jam, and so I send them that, and they get all excited when it comes. And okay, now you'll notice I did not cut this one apart on the diagonal, and there's a reason for that. I want to keep it whole. I showed you in the initial video that I cut it apart, but I'm going to keep it whole because this is a diagonal and you want to not stretch it. So if you stitch on both sides, you'll have a beautiful outcome here. I'm going to get this thread under there. There we go. Just a 1/4 inch away from that center seam that you've got. And now we'll cut it apart, and we'll have a perfect there we go. It'll give you your nice half square triangle pieces, just like that. And then eventually what we'll do, I won't do it with these two pieces, but we'll line it up again, and then we'll stitch it this way, and we'll have the 4-patch effect with the hourglass in the center. Okay, so I'll line this one up, and let's get maybe this. Yeah, okay. So let's draw on the diagonal here. So what I'm lining up with again is this part right here, the point where the two seams meet. And I think I'm going to line it up on this diagonal a little bit better. Some of these pieces are a little bit long and need to be trimmed down yet. And I haven't done that. I haven't squared up the block yet. And that's okay. Okay, let's go like that. Right through that seam on each side. And you can see where I need to trim a little bit off, so it would off those two edges. So there we go. Now we'll line this up, and I'm gonna go right in that corner there, and again right in that corner. Come on out. There we go. Okay. So do any of you watch The Homely House? Homely House? I love that. The Last Homely House. She is so sweet and kind. She reminds me so much of my grandmother, who was from England. Had that same kind of temperament, just creative and happy-go-lucky and upbeat, had a cheerful attitude all the time. No matter what was going on in her life, she had a cheerful attitude, and I think that really makes a difference. Okay, so we're going to stitch down both sides of that again, and then we'll trim it apart. Yeah, my grandmother lived to be 95 years old, 94, and she was so cute. She always said, oh, I'm going to live to be 100 years old, and I remember going to see her just before she passed away, just maybe a week before she passed away, and she said, I'm celebrating my 100th birthday, and I thought, oh, she's ready. She's done. She says, I don't know where they put Pop. He's in another room. I said, oh, well, you'll see him pretty soon. And she was missing my grandfather, who had passed away a while back, and he lived to be 92. So I think there's a lot to be said for the happy attitude, the upbeat, positive outlook on life, and don't let things stress you out. It's not worth it. Okay, here we go. We've got that line. We're going to cut right on that line. There we go. And again, we have nice perfect corners. There you go. Like I said, we'll press those open in a bit. Might as well take these apart here. I have a little gizmo that I like to use, and I'll show you a couple tricks now. This one pulls out of this, and the magnets on it are not great, but it does work. And you put your blade in there, you screw it in. It's got a little thing, and you can just go down and pop things through. Now, if you don't have one of those, I'm sure you have something on the side of your machine, and you can just go on the side of your machine and trim all those if you don't want to sit with a pair of snips, okay? So either of those things work. This wasn't cheap. I remember it was not an inexpensive item, but it does collapse down. It's portable. You can take it with you. And it is really nice. And one blade, one of your used blades that you've nicked and can't use on fabric anymore, will work really well. So, okay, and then we've got all these half blocks. So we'll press those later. I'm not going to press all that now. Bother you with that. Excuse me. It's allergy season in Idaho. Okay. Yeah, so my grapes are even coming on out there, which I'm so surprised. I love grapes. You know, growing up in California in the wine country, we always had grapes growing. And so I really wanted to grow some grapes out here. So I went to the local nursery and I asked them, what could I grow out here? That'll look cute. And so they gave me a couple different varieties, and I planted them both, and they are just doing great. So I'm so happy about that, because we enjoy eating grapes, and I love making grape jelly and jam. And here we go. And this is just, like I said, a little Soline Air Erase pen. I love these. I probably have 3 or 4 of them. And I just really like the way they work. Let's see, let's go that direction. Okay, we're going to put the pin in again in the corner, and then pin in the corner there. Okay. And then we'll take, I like these little sharper pins better than these long ones, but I have them all mixed up in my tray. I don't know what I was doing. I did something that I needed a lot of pins for, and so I pulled out the other ones, and they were those. They're a bigger pin, and they're great for some things, but when you're quilting, if you have a delicate pin, like a fine pin, like a little glass head pin, those are lovely, and they go through your fabric just so nice and neat, and they don't take a big chunk, and yeah, that's what I prefer. And you can't really use a clip on this because it doesn't lend itself to, you know, clipping in the middle of a seam like that. So. Probably be another couple of weeks before I get this quilt done, because I have some things on deck that I need to finish up first, but we'll piddle through it and get it done. There we go. Okay. Again, we have nice corners. There we go. Okay, I like this one. And, oh, we had another half square already made up there. Okay. Let's do... I think I like this. Yeah. Okay. So when we have these sew-alongs on YouTube, it's just a good time for you to hang out and sew whatever you want to work on. It doesn't have to be this. And I used to love to sit and sew with Bonnie Hunter when she was doing that, and I miss that, but I know she doesn't have the connectivity that she used to have where she's living, so I thought, well, maybe you'd enjoy sewing along on whatever it is you're working on, and we can chatter away. Okay. And you'll see some of these in my pin stash too, the hat pins. I use those on my long arm when I'm pinning a quilt on. I like to pin my quilts. I've used the red snappers, and they're okay. I just don't think you can get a really straight line up with them, but that's just me. You know, everybody has what works for them, and for me, that's what works for me. Okay, and we're just going to sew both sides down that. I'm going to be posting some of the old Monday Fun Days, I think. I have quite a few of them, and I'll post them to my YouTube channel because they are fun to watch what everybody's working on, and I enjoy that. You might enjoy it too. It's fun to look back and see what people are doing, and we have a different group that comes out all the time. A lot of the same people have been sewing together for a couple of years now, and it's just an open sew day, and we have fun. You bring out whatever you want to work on, and and everybody just chatters away. We spill the tea. We talk about all kinds of stuff, and we solve the world's problems one stitch at a time. There we go. Okay. Beautiful. And beautiful. Okay. We're getting down to it. We've got just a couple more to go here. Let's put this one and, yeah, let's put these two together. Okay. And I'll get my ruler. So I'll have, in this quilt, I'll have a variety of 4 patches and also a variety of hourglass blocks, and they'll just be mixed and matched in there. I may sash it, I may not. I haven't decided yet. So we'll see how that gets sorted out. And I think I'll go this way. Yeah, there we go. Just make sure, the trick is make sure your pin is perpendicular so it's straight up and down to your fabric. And the way you can hold it underneath between 2 fingers, and that'll keep it nice and straight. And then tuck your pin as close to it as you can. And same way on the other side. Those are just little tricks to get things to line up the way you want them to. Okay. And if you're new and following along on this, this is just, I like to take my time and sew in real time for folks because some people are new, and it helps them to see the same thing repeated several times so that they understand and can learn how to do a particular process. So I don't speed it up and do fast forward through things. I just do it in real time. And the nice thing about YouTube is if you're bored, you can scroll forward and see what's next in the process. So you don't have to sit and watch through the whole thing. But some people like to just get out there sewing, and it's like we're doing a little retreat today. We're just going to hang out and you sew what you're sewing on, and we'll just chatter away. And I'm taking some YouTube classes because I'm relatively new to the YouTube thing, and I need to learn some things before I go launching off crazy. But I want to learn how to do a live so that we can do some lives on here and on Facebook, because I think that would just be fun to sew together. Oop, that didn't come apart all the way. There we go. All right, that's cute. I'm going to have a pile to iron up here, and I won't keep you online while I'm ironing, but again, I am going to ask you if you would be so kind as to subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a like and a comment. That really, really helps out. It helps the algorithm, and it gets our videos out to more people. So, whoops. I got cattywampus there. Okay. There we go. So that would be very, very helpful, and we'd appreciate that a lot. And I read all your comments. I love to hear what you have to say. And a lot of, when I was first posting my videos, I just pulled old videos that I'd made and put them on, and a lot of your comments were really valid, and I really appreciate that. It helps me to kind of think about things differently and learn. You know, at 71 years old, it's like this dog needs to learn some new tricks, and she's learning. It just takes me a little bit of time. So, but I think, I don't know about you, but it's like I want to be the patient, grandmotherly person that is going to teach you how to quilt and not stress you out about how things need to be. And I like to do some modern improvisational quilting also. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know. And the other thing I would like to do a video tutorial on is the Irish chain quilt, which is a simple quilt. It's very easy to do, and it's just so much fun. It can be so pretty and so simplistic and beautiful in its simplicity. And the nice thing about an Irish chain quilt, a simple one, is that it gives you some large spaces to do some really elaborate quilting in if you want to do a beautiful motif in the blank blocks. That really lends itself to that. Okay, see how quick these go together? They're just really fast. And you could do a whole quilt of just these half square triangle bits. So you could just press these blocks out and that would be just fine. Okay. All right, we got through all those blocks. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and again, subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Look at some of our other videos. We have quite a few that are online, quite a few different tutorials. Maybe there's something that will float your boat. And I will be making some more up for you here real soon, and I'll keep you posted. Thanks a lot.